Remember that feeling you get, when a movie just stays with you? Like it gets under your skin and you're still thinking about it days later. The Sixth Sense is definitely one of those films for me, and we're going to unpack why that is today. Why this film, released back in '99, isn't just some thriller, it's like a total cultural phenomenon, even after 25 years.
It really is. It's one of those films that kind of landed at a crossroads, culturally speaking. Audiences were, I think, really ready for something different, and The Sixth Sense, it delivered,
Totally did. But just in case, anyone needs a quick refresher, it follows Malcolm Crowe, the child psychologist, played, of course, by Bruce Willis, and he's treating this young boy, Cole Sear, who believes, actually, he claims that he can see dead people. And the whole film leads to this crazy twist ending that everyone was talking about back then. But you're right, it wasn't just about the twist.
Oh, absolutely not. You see, The Sixth Sense came out when a lot of filmmakers were experimenting with how to tell a story. The late 90s, think Fight Club, think Pulp Fiction, movies that kind of flipped the script on how we were used to seeing stories unfold. But The Sixth Sense was interesting because it showed us that even a thriller, and not some big budget, huge action film, but a thriller could be this global phenomenon. This was because of how Shyamalan approached the suspense and the whole supernatural thing, and it worked. And of course, you can't forget the performances. Bruce Willis and really young Haley Joel Osment, they were incredible.
They really were. And you felt for them. You felt Cole's fear, how isolated he was, and you saw Malcolm trying to figure it all out, trying to help him. And speaking of how Shyamalan approached the suspense, how did he do that?
Yeah.
What do you think made it work so well?
Honestly, it was masterful. The way he used color, especially red, it was so deliberate. Red wasn't just like a visual cue for the twist, but it was this feeling of uneasiness, It hinted at danger and kept everyone on the edge of their seats. And don't even get me started on the sound design. The whispers, the creaking doors, every little sound just made the atmosphere so chilling. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Even now, I see a red door and I think of that movie. And you're right, it wasn't just about those jump scares. You were invested in those characters, their whole journey. And the film's exploration of grief and isolation, the need to connect with someone, it resonated with people, I think, on a really deep level.
It did. And, we really should talk about how The Sixth Sense impacted, I think, how we talk about mental health. The way they showed Cole struggling to even talk about what he was going through, that wasn't just good storytelling. It resonated with audiences, especially, and this is important, especially those who maybe went through something similar. I think it helped to kind of, make it okay to talk about childhood trauma, about seeking help. Those aren't easy things to talk about.
No, they aren't. And that's what's so important about it and why it still matters all these years later. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, how a film that's about ghosts and has all this suspense also manages to be this really human story about connecting with people, about understanding and empathy.
It really is. And that's what makes Shyamalan, such a great storyteller, I think. He takes this idea, which, let's be honest, could be kind of cliche, a boy who can see dead people, right?
Huh.
But he makes it something really special. He gives us these characters with real emotions, characters we can actually relate to, and themes that actually make you think.
Yeah, and he does it using these visual metaphors, these images that stick with you. Like you were saying, the color red.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about making it creepy, right?
Yeah.
It was about showing us how Cole couldn't just ignore these ghosts, how he couldn't pretend they weren't there. He was experiencing them through this very specific visual element.
Exactly. The color red became like a symbol of what was real for Cole, this truth that no one else could see. And it's something, this visual way of telling a story that you see again and again in his later films.
Speaking of his other films, I was reading that Shyamalan actually appears in The Sixth Sense. He has a cameo, is that true?
Yeah. He plays Dr. Hill, the doctor that Malcolm talks to about Vincent Gray. It's a small part, but it's definitely him. And it actually became his thing. He does it in a lot of his films.
Are you serious? I had no idea. I'm going to have to rewatch it and see if I can spot him. It's wild how many things you can miss, even in a film you think you know.
Totally. And speaking of things you might not know, The Sixth Sense, it almost didn't happen.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yeah.
A film this big, this famous, it was almost never made. How?
Well, it turns out a bunch of studios rejected the script at first. They said it was, too out there, too hard to explain to people. Think about that. A film that made over $670 million, almost completely dismissed.
That's crazy. Makes you wonder how many other amazing stories, amazing films are out there that just, never got the chance, But luckily, someone saw something in The Sixth Sense and took a chance on it, and look at the impact it had. All those filmmakers it inspired.
I know. The Others, for example, or The Village, even Unbreakable. All these films kind of took those elements that Shyamalan used, that psychological suspense, those twists that you don't see coming, and made them their own.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about the scares or the twists. It was how he used those things to talk about bigger ideas, like being isolated, dealing with loss and grief, the importance of connecting with people. I don't know, I think those themes really struck a chord with people, maybe in a way that other films hadn't.
Absolutely. The Sixth Sense reminded us that sometimes, the scariest things aren't like ghosts or monsters, but the things we carry around inside us, the fears, the things we regret, the stuff from the past that we haven't dealt with that haunts us.
It's like, in the same way that Cole found a way to be strong by facing his gift, his ability, we can find a way to heal, to grow by facing the things that scare us, the things inside us that we try to hide from. That's a powerful message, and I think it's a big part of why people still connect with The Sixth Sense today.
It is. It really shows how powerful a film can be over 2 decades later, and here we are, still talking about it, still thinking about what it means, still surprised by it.
You know what's funny? We've been talking about the twist ending, but the scene I always remember, the one that really gets me, is at the very end, after the twist, when Cole helps that little girl, the ghost, find peace.
Oh man, that scene destroys me every time.
I know, right? Gets me
Yeah.
every time. And I think that's what makes this film, so powerful. It's got the chills, the suspense, but underneath it all, it's about hope, about healing, about human connection, even in the darkest places. The Sixth Sense really messed with what we thought a movie could be, but it also reminded us about empathy, about trying to understand each other, and it stuck with you. Made you think about things long after you left the theater.
Yeah, it's true. That's what makes a film, or any story really, great, when it stays with you, makes you think, makes you look at things differently. And The Sixth Sense, it took these genre elements, ghosts and all that, and wove them into something really profound, something about, the human experience.
It did. And it's a film that really makes you look deeper beyond what you see on the surface.
Yeah.
It's about the complexity of people, of how we experience the world, don't you think?
Absolutely. And the thing is, this whole film, this touchstone, this movie that changed how stories were told, it almost didn't get made. Crazy, right?
Totally. And it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, how many other incredible stories, incredible films are out there just waiting for someone to tell them, to give them a chance. And that's something to think about, not just with movies, but with everything.
It really is.
So next time you watch The Sixth Sense or any film that really grabbed you, ask yourself, what makes it special? What is it about those themes, those big questions it asks, those personal moments that make it more than just a movie? What sticks with you?